welcome back to the 49ers First and 10 podcast presented by Cisco. I'm your host, Breon McDonald. I'm joined with 49ers team reporter, Lindsay Pilares, and 49ers insider, Jesus Zarate. Welcome, guys, back to the podcast. Today, we are breaking down the 49ers 2025 schedule reveal, giving some MiniCamp updates on the team. But Lindsay, first thing I want to know, what was your first reaction to seeing the full 2025 schedule?
Okay, my eyes immediately go to a Week 14 bye, which is, I've never seen anything like that for the Niners, so I did some digging. It's a first to have the bye that late in the schedule during the Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch era, and I went back as far as 2003. The Niners have not had a bye week in Week 14. So that's something that definitely stood out in terms of, I mean, I guess we won't know how things play out, right? It depends on how the team is doing at that point, but it's certainly very, very late into the season. Quick hits, 5 primetime games, which was cool to see. There were 6 last year, so definitely keeping theme with that. And the Niners are playing the 4th place schedule. I think that bodes well for a big comeback, kind of this re-energizing of the team. So I'm excited, and obviously starting the year off against the Seattle Seahawks is kind of a cool thing. So
yeah, speaking of, I wanted to know your thoughts on the home versus away schedule and what that balance is out like.
Yeah, I think it's a little tough early in the season, to be honest. Those first 9 games, only 3 of them are going to be here at home. So on the back end of the schedule, we'll see a lot of you guys, the faithful, here at Levi's Stadium, but a lot of back-to-back road games in that first chunk of the season. And I won't say like pre-bye because the bye is coming in Week 14, but very, very heavy on the road game schedule early in the year.
Well, Jesus, I also want to know your first impressions of the schedule. What part of the schedule do you think will test this team the most?
Well, yeah. I first of all, I want to talk a little bit about the bye week. I think ideally it will be better if it's like on week 8, week 9, like in the middle of the season. But it's much better to have it like in week 14 than, for example, back in 2019 when the team obviously had a really good season. But I remember that year they have it around week 5, so it was way too early. So I think it's much better to have it later than too early. That way, if you're preparing like for a playoff run in December, you get that bye week that the players have the chance to recover. But back to your questions about the harder part of the schedule, it could be in general on paper. Obviously, the schedule doesn't look really hard, but at this point of the year, I think it doesn't make too much sense to talk about which team is going to be good, which is bad, because obviously we have their record from last year, but a lot of them, since they finished last in their divisions, they had the chance to acquire very high draft picks. So yeah, things could change a lot. But for example, looking at the schedule, I think one of the hardest parts of it is when in week 5, when you have to go play the Rams in Los Angeles, and then the following week you had to play Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa, and that's a 10 a.m. Game. So yeah, I think those 2 games are against really, really good teams back to back.
Perfect. And Lindsay, you just mentioned those 5 primetime games. Does that feel like the right amount given the profile of this team?
100%. Obviously 2024, not the season that, anyone in this organization wanted. We know this. But if you look at the recent history of the Niners, lots of success, have reached the NFC Championship multiple times over the last 5 years, a Super Bowl berth at the end of that 2023 season. So I think the 5 primetime games, you talk about a lot of teams that didn't do great in 2024 and revamped. The Niners were able to pick 11th overall in the draft. They really, really went heavy on the defensive side of the ball in the draft. Like, they're coming back strong. That's the plan. That's obviously not a unique plan. A lot of organizations are also doing this. So I think this shows a lot of high hopes for the 49ers in 2025. I think it reflects the high level of play that you're going to see from this organization come this season.
Yeah, it's really exciting, Faithful. A list for you going into 2025 of which times the Niners are going to be in primetime. Week 5 versus the Los Angeles Rams. That's going to be on Thursday Night Football. Week 7 versus the Atlanta Falcons, Sunday Night Football. Week 12 versus the Carolina Panthers, Monday Night Football. Week 16, Indianapolis Colts, also Monday Night Football. Week 17, the week right after, Chicago Bears on Sunday Night Football. Jesus, I want to know, when you're calling these games and they're in prime time, do you see any players or moments that really shine in prime time versus a regular time game?
Well, obviously, since the Niners have a lot of stars on the team, even though we lost a lot of players in free agency, but we still have a lot of good players like Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle. So there's a lot of opportunity for different guys to show up in prime time, and it's just a different atmosphere. Even like our routine, I think, feels different when you're preparing to call the game. You see like people like way more excited under the likes of Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football, Thursday Night Football. So yeah, it's a different environment, and we definitely have a lot of players has good options to shine during prime time.
Throughout all your history calling games here at Levi Stadium, do you have a favorite primetime moment that comes to mind?
Prime time moment, I will say maybe George Kittle against the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah,
that was
iconic.
that was very fun. Yes, and obviously because of the big rivalry with the Cowboys. So yeah, that was very, very fun. And coming from George Kittle, usually everything he does is really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite primetime moment?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I hate to copy, but yes, and I would say the 2023 version of that primetime game, because a certain attire choice by George Kittle that we don't really talk about on our airwaves, and I'm just, if you know, you know, but very fun to see. And it's kind of, again, just a rivalry renewed, and it just kind of gets the competitive juices flowing for everyone. And kind of like Jesus said, Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, it just brings about this air at the stadium. You kind of have to be here to really feel it. But when you've got national attention, I think everybody shows up with a little extra juice.
Yeah, I know the faithful are looking forward to that. But not only do we feel that energy in the air at Levi Stadium, but also on the road. The 49ers invasion is soon to come in 2025 also. Cities and days are still to be announced. But Lindsay, what can fans look forward to in these fan invasions? What are the events like on the road?
Okay, so it took me, I think I made my second season was when I went to my first invasion, and I was blown away by, there's a lot of 49ers fans everywhere, but to see them all congregated in cities not attached to the Bay Area, to me, it's fascinating. It's awesome. And they are just as energetic as the season ticket holders that you see coming every Sunday during the football season. So it's a large gathering of Niners fans. Everyone's decked out. There's the big Niner chains, jerseys, everything. It's awesome. There's a lot of food, beverages. Our fan engagement team does a really great job of bringing in alum to come to all of the invasions. There's raffles and games, and I think it's just it's like a pep rally. It's a pep rally, but better, and you get to just make a bunch of new friends. I've met a lot of fans on the road that they come and pregame the game day experience there, and then you see them at the game the next day. Is really cool.
Yeah, just a huge 49ers faithful party. Jesus, from a team perspective, do you think these fan takeovers give the 49ers a real edge on the road when you see that stadium that's not Levi Stadium still covered in red?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, like I remember back in 2022. Yeah, 2022. I was part of all the invasions, and then during those away games, looking at all those 49ers fans, it was amazing. Even the players say, I think sometimes guys like Fred Warner said, man, it feels like we're at Levi Stadium. So yeah, it's definitely different in that sense for the 49ers.
Awesome. Well, faithful, stay tuned to the 49ers social channels to check out those fan invasion dates. Now let's get on to our schedule release video. With the 49ers rebranding being announced on social media, if you haven't seen the new look, you can check it out on 49ers.com and the team's social media channels. But this year, the theme is leaning into that Western look, hence the concept of the schedule reveal video, playing off that classic 8-bit game Oregon Trail and making it our own, called the Golden Trail. Lindsay, can you share just how big schedule release day is for media teams across the NFL?
It's honestly a creative Super Bowl. I don't know if that's the right term for it,
Yeah.
but I think every organization's creative team, so whether content marketing, videography, whichever way you go with these schedule release videos, it's who can do better. And sometimes it's social media concepts that really take off. Sometimes it's like the more stylized ones like we saw with our schedule release video. I just love that it's got that flavor of competition, right? And it's all in good fun. I love watching, honestly, all of the schedule release videos because sometimes the ideas are very outlandish and they totally work. And for our schedule release video, I would like to say shout out to our coworker, Mason. He's the person that you will see in the intro of this video. I think the intro is actually my favorite part because it reminds me, and I'm going to date myself here, but of the movie Jumanji. It has those same type of cinematic vibes, so I really love that part.
Yeah, I loved seeing the teases throughout social media and all the fans dropping in the comments the eyeballs or what is this? So excited that it's finally out. Jesus, what are your thoughts on the team's rebranding, sort of leaning into not only the history of the team, but the history of California with that Western look?
Oh, it's awesome. I think it's great because when you look at the history of the 49ers, like at the colors, looking here at the helmet, they always stay like true to their history, you know, even with the name of the team, like the 49ers, the gold rush, the colors, the gold, the red. So I love it. I definitely love it.
Yeah, Faithful, if you haven't seen the schedule reveal video yet, it is live on 49ers YouTube channel and on 49ers.com. Be sure to check it out. Also, if you haven't seen it, there's a tease at the very end hinting to a part 2, so keep your eyes peeled. There's a lot more exciting news to come. Now let's close out today's episode with some MiniCamp updates. Lindsay, can you introduce us to the new coordinators, what they've shared, and what you've observed from their coaching styles so far?
Yeah, so there's actually just really one new face, and we've talked a little bit about him as they were all getting hired, but Clay Kubiak taking over as offensive coordinator. He's been with the organization for several years. Just kind of a natural progression to become an offensive coordinator in his coaching journey here with the Niners. And then we have the return of Robert Saleh, now a defensive coordinator, departed in 2021 after being here for 4 seasons, back in the building, has some head coaching experience under his belt. And then we have Brant Boyer, who spent 9 seasons with the New York Jets, worked previously with Robert Saleh, has been credited with creating some really successful special teamers across the league. So that is a completely new-ish set of coordinators for the Niners. We heard them talk for the first time before the rookies actually hit the field for rookie minicamp. I'll talk a little bit just about Robert Saleh. I think his return is very much highly anticipated by a lot of the fan base, also the coaching staff. And I think one of the things that stuck out to me is that he said he's just returning with a new perspective after having 3+ seasons of head coaching experience. And he said he has a lot of empathy for head coaches now because he's been in those shoes. And he's just very indebted to the organization that they gave him kind of that pathway for success and that pathway to become ultimately a head coach. And he's, ready to do this again with the coaching staff, with Kyle Shanahan, with John Lynch.
Well, Jesus, what are your first impressions of these rookies during rookie minicamp?
Well, for starting with Michael Williams, he was impressive. Obviously, in the rookie minicamps, they don't have the pads on. We know that comes on until training camp, so we still have to wait for that. They do a lot of 7-on-7 individual drills, but on those individual drills, like Michael Williams, man, oh my God, he was impressive. You could feel his power even from the distance when we were watching him. Yeah, he looks like really strong, and he could. I think he's obviously, we're expecting a lot of big things from him. Obviously, guys like CJ West, even when he talked to the media, you see his great personality. And one thing I obviously heard like from the rookies, like during those press conferences, a lot of them mentioned that it's gonna be that they have the feeling that it's gonna be like a really close group, and that I think that's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know this was rookie minicamp, but have any veteran players made a presence and shown their leadership at practice?
Obviously, in practice, not really, but a lot of those rookies said that they had the chance to meet like guys like Christian McCaffrey, obviously Fred Warner. So they're in the building. So that's obviously good, especially for these young guys.
Amazing. Now that we wrap up, Lindsay, if fans could only make it to one game this season, which do you think is the must-attend matchup?
Oh, tough. One game at Levi Stadium or on the road?
Anywhere. Just any game on the schedule.
Okay, I hate to say this, but it is a core memory of mine is a game at Lumen Field. This one's a little bit different, and I do realize it is the season opener, but Lumen Field at night on a Thursday night has been one of my favorite moments of every season. I've actually never been there in the day, so I don't know why, but I'm gravitating towards that one. So go to the season opener, come out big, come out strong, and then obviously come to every other one after that.
Yes,
too.
we need the faithful's presence in week 1, and Seahawks-Niners is always an iconic matchup. Jesus, which game are you personally most excited to cover, and tell me why?
Definitely, it's a very hard question because I'm excited about all of them. But if I have to pick one, definitely it has to be the home opener. I mean, against Arizona Cardinals, division rival, because you want to start strong in your division. You're facing Seattle, obviously, week 1. That's an away game, but yeah, you have to you got to start with a win, and I think people are gonna be like really excited. It's always tough to play against a guy like Kyler Murray, running around, having to chase him. but yeah, I think it's a really good game to be the home opener this year.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Faithful, with the 2025 schedule now revealed, tickets are on sale. Head over to 49ers.com/schedule to pick up your tickets. Also, stay tuned for more coverage from the 49ers. We've got OTAs coming up very soon, and we'll have it all covered here on First and 10. So subscribe to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.